think the question was, I'm supposed to tell you whether I'm running for election or re-election, and that, oh, mine's gone. As a member of the commission, not only do we represent the district, but we also represent the citizens at large. And the question was, what two things would I like to see accomplished citywide, and what two things I want to see accomplished at the district level? Correct. Is that correct? Correct. I do good? All right. Let's start with just a little bit of history on how the commission seats work. We were voted on by everybody in the city. Okay, so if you live in College Park and I live in South End, you can still vote for me, and we all vote for everybody. So I don't want to be confused by the question potentially. I had two goals. I had more than two goals when I came back to the commission in 2009. One of those goals was to focus on getting the infrastructure redone. It's the same conversation I've been having for years. In fact, when I served in the early 2000s, there was a big discussions back then about doing something about the roads. Unfortunately, I was outvoted, and instead of rebuilding the roads, they painted the roads, what they call microsurfacing. Okay, that was at the time the way to get things done. So I think I've already accomplished that in raising the discussion to the point where we brought the bond referendum forward. We only lost by 24 votes. So when you have 30% poverty and double-digit unemployment, it speaks volumes for the need and the commitment of the people who live in the city to get things turned around. The other citywide initiative that I wanted to see was the reduction of electric rates. And I'm proud to tell you that when I was in the minority of the commission in 2009, 2010, I was able to gently nudge, if you will, the commission into reducing the electric rates for the first time in what I believe is in the entire history of the electric rates. Not only did we do while I was in the minority, but when the majority changed on the commission, we've lowered or maintained the electric rates each of the last 4 years. There are 39 electric utility companies in the state of Florida. Lake Worth was always perceived as being the highest in the state, or maybe even the highest on planet Earth. Currently, we are number 4 in the state, the 4th lowest. And I'm proud to tell you that my goal for this year is after this budget cycle, we will have the cheapest electric in the state of Florida. That's my goal, and that's where I'm headed with this. That's citywide. That's one of the biggest incentives to invest in. We've been talking about how to get the businesses back. That's the biggest incentive that we're going to fix. District-wide. No, I done. All right. Sorry. Thank you.
District-wide, we've actually brought in more growth in the last 4 years than they've done in the last 10 years. And moving forward, I don't see my district any different than the city, because if you know me, I'm probably the easiest one to get a hold of. I get people walking in my store all day long. As soon as my computer beeps, I try to get right back to you. I pick up the phone unless I'm in a meeting, and then I call you right back. A lot of people say, well, your mailbox is full. My mailbox is full purposely. So you can't leave a message and get lost in the shuffle. I get 50, 60 calls a day. I leave it full, so I'm forced to see that pop up and call you back. Now, as far as moving the city forward, or the district forward, we've been aggressively doing that. Like I said, we're working on sober homes. Sober homes is one of the biggest problems, and we don't have a lot of home rule on that. So we're working with Tallahassee and working with Lois Frankel in Washington to try to address that. Infrastructure, again, we found lots of money in CDBG grants that was sitting there when we came in, community block grants, and we were able to use that to fix some of the streets, the worst first on the west side, and we're aggressively moving forward. Again, the Gulfstream Hotel sat empty for 10 years. We now have somebody that wants to rebuild that Gulfstream Hotel. I can tell you as a downtown merchant, when the Gulfstream was open, that restaurant was one of the most popular restaurants. We spent Sunday tea dance with burgers by the pool, and the people that they put in there, the flight attendants alone that couldn't go anywhere and shop downtown and ate downtown, brought lots and lots of business. So, you know, we're moving forward, and again, you know, we're doing everything we need to do to bring commerce, to bring investment, to bring tax base.
I think citywide, again, going back to the Gulfstream, I think it's going to be the most important thing to be the catalyst to build more business, bring more business to the city, more visitors, more tourism. Here in South Florida, that's what we thrive on, the beach and tourism and real estate. I'd also like to see more money invested into the neighborhoods, specifically to the roads and to the infrastructure. I'd also like to see more sidewalks. There are certain areas where kids are walking out on the streets to school. I think that is a major concern. We need to make safety a priority. To piggyback on that with the neighborhoods, kind of the same thing. Just make sure that we're building the neighborhoods, building the associations, building a sense of solidarity that we're all in this together, whether it's the nonprofits, whether it's government, for-profit, the faith-based groups, we can all work together in solving a lot of these issues. Thank you.
First thing I'd do is continue doing what I'm doing, go door to door. The people I'm talking to they don't get much voice with the city. They don't attend association meetings and stuff like that, and all they hear is from the city and from the newspapers, this is what the citizens want, this is what citizens need, and they've never been asked. And when you go door to door, they appreciate that. There's a whole lot of other things we could do, simple little things, and then go from there. I'm not for jumping in and spending a whole lot of money first till everything's investigated. And if things are being checked and we're spending money on checking it, we're not getting no information on what's being done. So door to door is my thing. Here you go.
When we address the infrastructure issue, which is, first of all, as mayor for the whole city, I'll talk about some of the best things that we've been working on. When we talked about infrastructure, first of all, our commission, we created the whole plan, the first ever comprehensive plan that addresses everything having to do with our roads, streets, and sidewalks. We didn't have GIS systems in track. We put those in place. We didn't have maps of every single area. We brought in an expert to judge the pipes, the water, the sewer, the level of the asphalt on the top. And we created a master plan that will actually tell us when a street is going to fail and why. So it's not just about filling potholes. We bought a brand new pothole machine that's filling up potholes. That's great. That addresses the pothole itself. We're talking about addressing the reason that there will continue to be potholes throughout the city. I have focused on infrastructure from the day I got to City Hall. And we put this plan together. You can't ask for money unless you do the homework. The homework is done, now we have to figure out how to pay for it. We're going after grants, we're going after every available dollar, because we need our roadways fixed. As for safe passage and schoolways, the sidewalk programs are being covered by grants from the MPO. We're making sure that our kids' safe route to school. We're replacing water lines that are in our school area. We're redoing by the elementary schools, roads, streets, again through funding and grants. We always planned on getting these grants, and we were always going to go after them, but we had to do that important work first. You can't just throw your hands up in the air and say you're going to do something. You don't get money that way. You have to work for it. And that's what we've done. We've done the hard work, and now it's time to start to see the fruits of our labor happen as our city improves, and we realize that great potential. Our electric rates, yeah, we created a law that forces us to be at rate parity with FP&L. Why? Because people weren't coming here because our rates were too high. We've lowered the rates every year, and they're going down, and again, we will be lower than FP&L. Our goal, reduce the disincentives and make sure our people are taken care of first. Bring in new businesses and incentives. Thank you.
I'm going to ask this as a yes, no, unless we have some differing opinions on this. Is there any reason in your minds that we should revert back to a Lake Worth Police Department and eliminate the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office? It's a yes and no question.
Absolutely not. No.
No.
Yes.
No.
No, but I do want to, my opponent,
We're going to have follow up in a second.
just yes or no?
Yes, no. Does we have a yes, we have a follow-up
No,
to the question?
under no circumstances.
Okay. For those who wish to revert back to the Lake Worth Police Department, the question is why, and how do you plan on funding it with our current city situation? And then everyone else will have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, I think we lost a lot of identity when we lost our police department. Others don't. We're spending, I think last year's audit said $19 million per 5 square miles. There's other towns that are 45 square miles only spending $8 million. And are we getting a full service? And as for the funding of the pensions, are we paying double right now with the county? I think we are. And we're paying this 19 million here. But we're losing all of our identity for a so-called small quaint town. We're giving everything away, and it's just got to stop someday.
In reference to the pensions, almost all the employees switched over to PBSO's pension plan. There were just a few employees that were left, and most of them will be completely out of that pension system very shortly. I think there's only like 2 or 3 left. 4, just 4 left. So that's that. There were studies done by the previous commission before Andy and I arrived, that were done to investigate going back to a Lake Worth police force. That's one of the reasons I got involved in this political animal to begin with, because I was terrified that we were going to go back. The difference was, do you want 5 officers covering the whole city, or do you want 20 officers covering the whole city? Do you want, when there's a gang-related incident, 3 police officers have to come out to a gang-related incident, so that leaves 2 officers for the whole rest of the city? Our Lake Worth PD was strong, and they were great guys, and in fact, almost every single one of them is a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy right now, or beyond that. They're fantastic, but now, guess what? They have the resources to do it. They've got choppers, they've got segways, they've got horses, they've got, every type of thing imaginable that they can go after the bad guys with, and they have enough guys and manpower behind them to actually make a difference. They came in here, and in a matter of 6 months, they had wiped out just about every gang in the city. Remember when gangs used to roam the street? I do. I would never want to return back to that small force again, and our guys on the police force would tell you they don't want to either.
And in the event that we have a major incident in this city, we have plenty of protection, but going back to the resources, we can pull from outside the county in literally minutes if something happens. In my opinion, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office is one of the premier law enforcement agencies in this country, bar none. And I've lived around the country and I've seen different, and this is not to put other agencies down, they all do great work. But these guys, they got it going on, and they don't take a lot, from folks. And that's the way it needs to be. The reality of it is, my opponent, regardless of the fact that he's cleaned himself up and wants to give you this all-American good-looking boy look, my opponent absolutely despises the police system in general. Absolutely despises the police. In fact, he chuckles and relishes to some extent when officers are killed in line of duty. This is the type of individual that my opponent is, and you'll be seeing more of that as the campaign goes on. We've got all these Facebook posts that are disgusting and they make your stomach turn. Do not kid yourself for 1 second that this alignment of opponents up here and the people that are behind them would do anything they possibly can to get rid of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office the day after they get elected. You can guarantee that. And I'm not going to let that happen. I know you won't either. Thank you.
I think the Vice Mayor and the Mayor said it all, but one thing I'm going to say is when we were Lakewood PD, we had great officers that worked with what they had to work with. Thank you, Bob. And they did a great job, but we heard that, maybe we need to go back. No, that's what the City of Lake Worth needs to do, is go forward. We need to continue to go forward with streets. We need to continue to go forward with PBSO. We need to continue to move forward with smart growth. And that's the problem, is we can't go back. Financially, we can't go back. We need to move forward, and just the package that the Sheriff's Department brings. How many people have seen the horses? Well, Lake Worth didn't have that. How many people did the cottage tour and saw the ATVs? Yes. Lake Worth didn't have that. So just the resources that, some of the time it's the feel-good things that we need to see to make us feel safe. So absolutely not.
I don't think we should go back. I think the PBSO guys are doing a pretty good job. I think there is always room for accountability and making sure they're doing the right job. Like I said, I've had my car broken into twice. I think we can get a lot more officers on foot and bike, and horse for that matter. I just want to make sure that the people are protected. And the #1 role of government is to make sure that the people are protected. And if we've got to spend more money on undercover or more police officers in the field, then I'm all for that. Thank you.
this goes to you, Sue. If we're going to define beach operations as the pool, the beach, the parking lot, and our tenants. Okay. What is your plan to make beach operations more functional and profitable for the residents?
Okay. Well, I love the beach. I think they've done a great job. There has been ongoing litigation there in getting the property fixed up. I know that there were some contractual problems there. But again, those problems came before, during, and after my opponent was there. So I want to see that fixed. I want to see more action up there as far as parking goes. I think it is a great revenue source. I think we can go to a tiered system. I think we can go to a seasonal system, and we can generate even more revenue up there. Obviously, I would love to have a top floor tenant, but we're in a situation right now that we don't. And I think if we do get a good tenant up there, we'll generate even more revenue. As far as the pool is concerned, it is losing money, but I think every pool in the county is losing money. We could certainly put some cosmetic repairs on it, but I think it is our public pool, and I love what they've done with the casino, and I think that's why people come to Lake Worth. Thank you.
Once again, my opponent talked about parking revenue. Again, there's a disconnect. His supporters will tell you that it should be a park and it shouldn't make money. I disagree. When you drop a building and you put tenants in, it should at least pay for itself. Let me tell you about parking. Last year we brought in $1.6 million in parking. That had to pay for the building and the lifeguards and everything else because we inherited a bad business plan. And you can say I've been there 4 years and can't do anything about it, but when you get such a bad business plan, both in the city and at the beach, when we first came in, the pool wasn't even included in the plan. When they took the sidewalk out to redo the pool, the side of the building fell off. None of that was included in the plan because they knew the plan could not be successful if they included the pool. So we came in, we were getting ready to do a brand new building with a ribbon cutting, and we had to do something with the pool. I said, at least put a coat of paint and a little landscape and make it look like it matched. It wasn't even in the original plan. So, you can accuse us of not moving forward, but again, we don't even have a CO on the building. Meaning that, it's kind of hard to rent the entire top floor out if we don't have a CO.
Thank you. I could talk for hours on the subject of the beach casino building. I oppose the reconstruction of that building because we weren't in a financial position to afford to do that. If we were going to spend $6 million at the time, we should have put it in the Park of Commerce and built the roads that we needed to create job opportunities, to create new businesses, to diversify our tax base, and create thousands of jobs. But the choice was made to put a shiny object on the beach, not the casino building, the old building didn't need something done to it, but it was a matter of priorities, and I think it was misprioritized. As Andy said, the pool itself was never considered in the business plan. It loses hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. If they had put that in the business plan, they could have never made the business plan even come close to balancing. And as it were, the business plan they proposed, which I told them would work, isn't working. Now, we could raise the parking rates. We certainly could raise the parking rates. But what's going to happen? Folks are going to stop coming to the beach because they don't want to spend a lot of money to park because they're going to the beach. Okay? The reality of it is, we borrowed $6 million, a minimum of $6 million from ourselves out of utility money. Utility money. We talked earlier about utilities and the high rates we've been paying all these years. Where do you think that money was going? It was just sitting in a pool someplace and nobody ever bothered to say, let me get some of that back to you in the form of a rate reduction. That was never considered, but we want to build a shiny new object on the beach. We'll take $6 million and do that. Okay, so it's all about priorities and how we use our money. That building is not paid for itself. It was over budget. And quite frankly, they have not paid back the money they're supposed to pay back to the city, which means it's negatively impacting your water rates right now as we speak. It's your water rates are subsidizing the construction of the casino building because of poor planning and just a poor political move on their part.
Along with the $6 million, we had a $5 million grant that was promised to us from the county. To give you an idea, when I got there in November of 2011, we were in jeopardy of losing that $5 million because we hadn't responded. They were going to take back $5 million. Could you imagine if we had been sitting there with the bill for that? We already invested $6 million from our own utility, and here we had a $5 million grant. we had to call several county commissioners when we got back on the dockets, and we told them that we could be trusted to make sure that this project got done, and it was our job to get that project open. The county had its dollars invested in it, and they wanted it open. We got it open. We did inherit a flawed business plan, and again, we have some flawed situations in regards to renting, so we prevented us from renting that top space. But let me tell you something, you can't not pay back your loans. The only reason there's any cash flush in that account right now is because we're not paying back at the term that we promised you, the taxpayer, to pay back at. And we're subsidizing with parking rates. So we can say whatever we want about it, we're not paying it back. What happens if you don't pay back your mortgage, right? They take away your house. But because it's the city, we don't have to pay it back. Now, no one's looking for us to make a profit at the beach. We are looking to pay for our expenses because we want to be good stewards of your tax dollars, just like you have to be in your house and in your finances. There's are things that we can do. I probably show that upstairs space more than a realtor does. I've also brought in different groups to the pool to try to increase participation of meets and different events that are happening there. And I just met with another group last week. So we're trying to make it profitable. We're in the works, but we've got to get those construction items fixed.
You know, I've been here since 1979, and all I've heard about is that beach, the beach, the beach. Every commission meeting's the beach, all these campaigns is the beach. It's probably gonna go on for another 35 years. I was never for to put money down there in the beginning, and people in here know that. I was never for putting money on the Park of Commerce. It's always been for the infrastructure, but it's always overlooked. And when it comes back to the Park of Commerce, I don't know where the impact fees go out there. I understood long ago that when buildings were built, there were impact fees to take care of the streets and the infrastructure. But no, I'm tired of hearing about the beach, and I think other people are too.
We have one rebuttal, two rebuttals now. First rebuttal down at the end here. Sorry, he asked first.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to talk a little more about the beach. There's roughly about $900,000 in that fund in just over 2 years. And that money can be paid to our debts. And I think it's just a matter of supply and demand with the parking. When we're in high season, certainly we can charge more. I also do want to see more resident parking, but it's a simple matter of supply and demand. And if we can charge more money for parking, why not do it? I'm not saying to do it on the backs of the residents. I'm saying to do it on the snowbirds and the out-of-towners and the people visiting our great city. You know, Gary made a good point, keep focusing on the beach. It is making money and we can make our payments. The golf course is losing a lot of money. We wrote off $1.9 million. So I think we can focus on other areas of the city that really need addressing. Thank you.
One rebuttal, 1 minute.
This, first of all, the beach project is $800,000, by the way. And again, we were supposed to pay back $500,000 a year. We went 2 years without paying any $1,000, 2 years in a row, and then paid $250,000 when we were supposed to pay $500,000. So we would have already made that up and we would be on track. That's the facts. And my opponent who mentioned the Park of Commerce, first of all, we don't own any of the land out there. It's the road. And we are required to, by law, put in the infrastructure on that road as part of all of our roadway projects. We don't own anything. This comment about the Park of Commerce, or that we can actually put money into potholes as opposed to the Park of Commerce, it's not one or the other, folks. This is a street project that's part of all of our street projects. It just so happens that people own the land themselves, and if they should build on their own land, guess what? We make money. And we get to use that money to invest in our own infrastructure. That's the way it happens. That's the way government works. It's not a conspiracy theory. Thanks.
Sorry. Okay. It's been asked that some of the talking in the back be cut down because they can't hear back there, so go on with the next question. I believe we're starting with Andy, this one. Okay, and this is one that's dear to the residents of our neighborhood. What is your plan to ease the frustration that those residents living in historically designated communities and want to improve their homes, i.e. hurricane windows and hurricane-proof roofs, can't get that project through City Hall?
Okay, this has always been one of my pet peeves, and if you've heard me talk to a neighborhood meeting, you've heard me say it before. I'm not happy with our historic designation. Years ago, I had a house up on the north end, and something came to my front door and it said, if you'd like your house to be historic, do nothing. If you don't want your house to be historic, fill this out, have it notarized, and get it back by a certain date. So it was in my to-go box next to the front door, and I looked at it and I said, oh shoot, I missed the date. That's how they did it back in the day. Do we have historic properties in the city of Lake Worth? Absolutely. Should some of them have historic destinations? Absolutely. But I don't think there should be blankets on the entire city. And back then, that particular commissioner actually left her district out. So, do we need to come back and look at that? Absolutely.
I had the opportunity to vote on historic neighborhoods originally back in 2001 or 2002, and I voted against it. I was the only one that voted against it, for a lot of reasons. But to address the question of the evening, frankly, part of the problem we have with getting through the process is our board members sometimes take it upon themselves to be more subjective in how they deal with the permit process and the people that are coming to them. Instead of strictly looking at what is there and available to as far as materials or whatever, we often find ourselves offering our opinion. When I'd like to see you do this, or I'd like you to see that. Look, that's not what we're supposed to be here for. We're supposed to be here to interpret the code, to interpret our ordinances, not to give our subjective opinion of whether or not we want this type of wall or this type of window. And I think that's the biggest issue we have to deal with. And we need to start looking at maybe going back and seeing if there's anything we can do with this process to make it less, to take some of that subjectivity, even more of it away from the process, because it's not helping us. And I've got some friends here in the room tonight who will tell me that it's a great economic driver. Yet I've not had anybody come to me and show me the positive economic impact that it's had in our community. Okay, and many of us are from up north. I have an aunt and uncle who live in a home that was built prior to the Revolutionary War, and they're still living in it. That's historic, ladies and gentlemen. 50 years old is not historic. I'm quite sure if I dig through my sock drawer, I can find socks that are 50 years old. But to Andy's point, there are some, I know that in the past there's some wonderful architects that done some great things here in the city, and I have absolutely no problem with identifying individual structures and doing everything we can to preserve them and honor them in the way they truly need to be honored. Thanks.
I think Scott and Andy pretty much touched on my opinions on that too, but I happen to own one of those relics. My house is 90 years old, and my husband and I have spent probably our life savings fixing that puppy up and getting it safe, sealed, and secure. So I appreciate historic homes, I value historic status. However, I don't think that all the homes in our community are historic. And I think that most importantly, we need to really focus, whether it's any of these types of codes and things, and also our code enforcement. Let's go after the worst first. Too many of our people are dealing with so many issues that they really don't need to be dealing with. They're law-abiding citizens taking care of their homes and properties and trying to invest and make them better places. And it's a disincentive, I think, for them to go through this. We don't need to be the